occasionally heals tears. Here I wish everyone a happy listening experience. When turning a corner, I accidentally bumped into a scene of admiration. A man and a woman. The girl excitedly stood with her arms spread in front of the boy, and the boy leaned against the wall, pretending to be casual. It was unclear whether he was listening or not. You say you have someone in your heart. Can't you give me a chance? Her voice just stopped as I walked over, her tone filled with doubt and disbelief. That guy looks familiar? When I glanced over, I met his eyes and saw his face clearly. This person is really an acquaintance. And coincidentally, that guy was the one I had a crush on. I tried to keep a straight face as I walked past them, but the next second he strode towards me, his hand reaching out to place on my shoulder. There was a rustling sound coming from his hand. Wife, my wife is here. Just as I thought of the treasure appeared. Baby, save me quickly. The boy I had a crush on suddenly said something like a bolt from the blue. I was pursuing this girl. Hearing that, the girl was stunned and took 2 steps back, looking at me with a look of surprise. But I wasn't much better, copying and pasting the other person's expression, stopping to look at the officer. It's not like I overreacted. The truth is, I haven't even talked to him once. So why did I hear you call me wife just now? Was it an illusion? I looked at the official, every line on his face was calm. His eyebrows did not furrow. His expression was as light as the wind and clouds drifting by. Just as I was about to explain, his other hand tightly grasped my hand, our 10 fingers intertwined, gently swaying. Then he tilted his head to look at me, his eyes carrying a hint of pleading. But I heard a series of sounds that seemed to break my heart. I touched the baby was soft and smelled so good. The baby was looking at me again. What should I do when I was seduced? I really wanted to kiss her eyes. Oh no, did what I said just now scare the baby? No, I have to calm down, I can't scare the baby. Is this really Changguan? Why can I hear his heart? While I was still lost in thought, the girl forced a smile and spoke. Changguan, can you stop joking like that? Don't you just like casual fun? Changguan is a famous playboy in school, from racing nightclubs to massage, anything crazy enough, you're always there. There's no shortage of suitors either. The matter of actively pursuing someone, no need to discuss, no way. Thinking of this, I felt a little uncomfortable. Wanted to avoid it but couldn't. Trin Quan frowned, his eyes looked straight at that girl. His voice cold as he asked, who told her those things? The curses rang in my ears again. It's over, my baby heard everything. What does that little girl mean, dare to look down on my baby? Damn it, she already doesn't like me, now that man is saying that, how will she judge me? I haven't even had time to pursue my baby. Who the hell dared to ruin my reputation? The girl was clearly confused. Before she could say anything, the official had already lost all patience. Can we go now? If that girl continues to say another word, won't the baby hate me even more? How hateful, she hasn't been avoiding me lately. Now that it's good, she'll hate me like before. Wait, what is he thinking? Why does it sound like the two of us have a whole old story in the mind of the official? Am I the only one who has a secret crush on him? I've had a secret crush on the official for a year. I consider myself a person who silently pursues professional standards, absolutely not affecting his life. At most, it was just that while I was looking at him, our eyes accidentally met, and then the next second we quickly looked away. It's just that recently, I don't know why, but the frequency of my encounter with him has increased significantly. It's best to stay a little further away, because the number of people pursuing him is like mullet crossing a river. A person like him seems to be born to shine anywhere. I know myself best. After the girl left, the official let go of his hands hanging loosely by his side. Sorry, because I've been bothered for too long. I want to end it once and for all. I hope I don't make it difficult for you. I said this without any hesitation. I'm sure the baby won't hate me. But really, won't he? Will he leave me again? If I can't see my baby anymore, it will be heartbreaking. My pupils trembled. My face looked at the officer in confusion. He lowered his head, looking at me seriously. The blue earring on his right ear was dazzlingly bright. Thinking back to how I had always kept my feelings hidden, never revealing that I liked the fashion industry, never even talking to each other, so I asked curiously, "You know me?" Oh my God, what is she saying? Does it mean that I'm so free that I'm wagging my tail like a peacock all day in front of her? I've already failed at the first step. What should I do about the next broken pursuit plan? The sound ringing in my ears was really good. But the official standing in front of me was extremely calm. Even his tone was very firm. Boinim, I know you. Finally I can call your name, baby. You one shot to end the second move. My heart felt like it was about to jump out of my throat, and I quickly looked away. What was I thinking about the second move? I saw the calm expression of the official, looking down at his watch, his eyebrows slightly furrowed. Was it that late? Then he looked at me again, his eyes filled with pity. Keeping him here all this time, he probably hasn't eaten anything, right? The person in question didn't have time to answer. To thank him, I invited him to dinner, the other party said firmly. Until we sat down at the dining table, I still had not reacted. The young man sitting across from me, whose face had always carried an arrogant and unruly look, now under the warm dim light, seemed to be covered with a layer of gentleness, his nose straight and high, casting a faint shadow under his eyes. His eyes were downcast, his chopsticks were pulling me away, but his mind was thinking crazily. I made an appointment with her, haha. Why haven't the helpers arrived yet? I'm so anxious, what can I say to her? I could even see the tips of his fingers turning white from holding the chopsticks so tightly. Afraid that he would be embarrassed, I took the initiative to speak. We were classmates in high school, but you probably don't know me. I was the one struggling in the sea of exam questions, while Trin Quan always shined under the lights, the center of attention, pursued by everyone. Every time I saw him, he was standing in the middle of the stage or in the audience, inside or outside the glass window. The first time I saw Chengguan, I was sitting in the audience, mistakenly studying vocabulary, struggling to remember the meaning of the word crack, intending to open the book to look. On stage, suddenly the sound of drums and bass rang out. The surrounding sounds seemed to shatter. It was Chengguan, oh so handsome, oh so awesome. At that time, Trin Quan wore a black hat, revealing only a few strands of hair at the back of his neck. The blue earring on his right ear glittered under the light. Under the light, his smile shone. A fleeting love, shy but burning. Chengguan sat opposite, his lips moving as if he was about to say something. Chengguan, suddenly someone called out to him from afar, and ran over laughing happily. The other person just approached, and when he caught sight of me, his face showed surprise. Then he turned to look at Chengguan. Chengguan's eyes instantly became as sharp as a knife. Oh no, the most unreliable person really came running here. If he made the little darling think that he was that kind of person, then everything would be over. Unfortunately, the other guy was completely unaware of the current situation and calmly sat down right next to him. My name is Suxia, I am Chengguan's roommate. I know this person, after all, the people who appear next to Chengguan are not unknown people. I nodded but didn't say anything. I knew him. His expression was mysterious, as if he was about to say something. Just then there was a sudden loud clanging sound, as if some piece of meat had hit something hard under the table. Chengguan's expression remained unchanged. He just gently turned the plate of food towards me, and explained thoughtfully. It was normal, this guy often got sick like this. Definitely not trustworthy. Remember how I scared my baby? No, I have to send him a message telling him to go away. This meal was like sitting on a hot coal. Suxia found all sorts of topics to chat about, talking non-stop, to the point that I was almost overwhelmed. As for Chengguan's face, it was as black as ink. Suxia, luckily they were done for. At the end of the meeting, Chengguan went out to answer the phone. After Chengguan left, Suxia finally fell silent, but then couldn't help but speak up. Do you know why I said I knew you at first? I shook my head. The other party smiled meaningfully, pointing at Chengguan's shadow. His tone seemed to drag on. His phone was shaped like a phone that was him. My heart felt like it was being pulled taut like a string. He continued slowly. It was a photo of him receiving an award in high school. It was like the chaotic heartbeat of a drowning person suddenly rising to the surface of the water, the sound of his heart pounding like a snail. When Chengguan returned, Suxia winked at me. I'll take my leave first. Only Trin Quan and I were left. Later, he took me all the way back to the dormitory. At that moment, he called my name. I turned around. Trin Quan stood in the dark, under the shade of a tree with its leaves planted diagonally, where no light could reach. Boinim, I know you. A sentence without beginning or end. But I knew he was answering the question I had asked before. In 12th grade, I transferred to the school that Trin Quan was studying. The strict education from my family had made me become an extremely self-conscious and quiet person, One could even say I was withdrawn. In their eyes, the only thing that was valuable were the bright red numbers on the test paper, and I was no different from an old, winded machine, forced to operate without stopping. The internal parts were worn out, and every movement carried the breath of decay and damage. It seemed like there was a law that people who lived by the rules were always attracted to those who were willing to break all the rules. Humans, by nature, were creatures that gravitated towards the light. Perhaps my favorite pastime in my senior year of high school was quietly observing the light and trying to figure out why it was so bright. The most profound impression was probably during that winter. That evening it suddenly snowed, and in just a moment, the snow was as thick as my toes. Everyone rushed down to the yard to play snowball fights. Perhaps because he was quite famous, when Chung-Guan stepped onto the street, strangers threw snow at him, leaving watermarks on his expensive coat, and some even deliberately stuffed snow into his coat. However, Chung-Guan only smiled and scolded him a few times. With a few unmelted snowflakes still stuck in his hair, he pointed his finger at a girl passing by and said, "Okay, I'll let you guys throw more later, now make way a little." Why was the light so bright? The most accurate answer seemed to have been predetermined from that moment. When I got back to the dormitory, my roommates immediately gathered around me, starting to gossip. Oh my god, that guy is Chung-Guan, right? That famous figure in our school. Did he bring you back? There are so many people chasing him. So many people have to line up to get their turn. What kind of relationship do you have with him? I looked at the phone screen where Chung-Guan's name had just appeared in my friend list. My fingertips unconsciously lit up and then turned off the screen. My mind was in turmoil. In the end, I avoided all their questions, shook my head, and answered in a soft voice. Nothing. Perhaps they saw that I was not in a good mood, so they were also observant and did not continue asking any more questions. I resolutely turned off the screen and put the phone down, but the next time the phone vibrated slightly from the message interface I had just seen. "Officer Trin, can you come watch my competition tomorrow?" It was his racing event. Everyone in the school already knew about it. I felt like I was floating in midair, and if I made a mistake I would fall down below. I let out a soft sigh, really not knowing how to reply to his message. Before I could reply, the next day, unexpectedly, the official himself came to find me. Downstairs of the dormitory, many people had passed by and told me about it, yet he was standing there in the middle. The Mandarin wore a black coat, his figure was tall and imposing, and every line and angle of his sharp face was exposed. People who happened to pass by couldn't help but look back at him, but he didn't seem to care, lowering his head to type on his phone's keyboard. When I was going downstairs, my phone received a text message from him, and my eyes unconsciously looked in his direction. As if he felt my gaze, the official raised his head and looked up. Amidst the bustling crowd, our eyes met in midair, as if at that moment time had stopped. The person who had been standing motionless in the middle of the street suddenly strode towards me, the corners of his lips curling into a smile. Before he could say anything, his heart was so warm that he couldn't hide it. "I'm so happy to have met my baby. Yesterday he fed me avocado, probably because he was afraid that I would get tired of texting back. Oh, my baby is so thoughtful and attentive. Today is another day of loving you even more. It's okay if I don't reply to your messages. I can change your nickname to typing a message. It's really okay, huh?" I looked at the sharp features of the person in front of me, still unable to get used to it. His eyes were long and narrow, his eyebrows were slightly raised. His gaze when looking at others was somewhat contemptuous and aggressive. Compared to his provocative appearance, his lips were the complete opposite. They were incredibly plump and soft, making his overall face look sharp and unbearably sharp. I faced the face of the person who always had a disdainful and indifferent look that made others avoid me. He separated from me and spoke. "Boy Neem, do you want to come watch me compete? I've checked, baby doesn't have any classes today. I have to let him see my cool and handsome appearance, ha 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 ha." The hand in front of me seemed to tear through space and time, breaking all barriers, as if the regrets from high school were now filled with time and space. It was as if it wanted me to disregard everything and follow the person in front of me, but I remained silent for a while. After a while I shook my head and spoke. "Official Trin, forget it." For a moment the official Trin looked stunned. "Oh no, does she hate me? What should I do to win my beloved wife back? I can't stand by and watch my wife hate me less and less. What to do, 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 what to do. No, I have to take a risk. The next second, the hand in front of me suddenly grabbed my wrist, pulling me forward. It seemed like a sudden gust of wind blew up in the air. His voice echoed from the front, his back was right in front of me. Sure, Ran, come and see me. Come see his heart. Finally, unable to contain my excitement, I agreed to go with him to the race venue. His competition was very well organized. The racetrack was large, surrounded on all sides by grandstands. The race had yet to start. Officer Trin was wearing a black racing suit, tall and lanky, holding his helmet in his right hand, standing next to his racing car. His car was completely different from the others. The main color was black. Along the body of the car was a detailed design that looked like a cluster of burning flames. The tires were dotted with blue rays. Red was blazing, blue was binding leaves. Just then, the big screen changed to a close-up of the judge's face. The stands immediately erupted in cheers. He remembered you, smiling, looking extremely arrogant. When he entered the 60-second preparation phase, he leaned down into the narrow cockpit, putting on his helmet. When the 5 red lights went out, the low roar of the engine was so loud that it shook the skull. Under the watchful eyes of the audience, with the commentator's lightning-fast commentary, the car with the number 99 took the lead and was the official's car. On the racetrack, the racing cars raced at breakneck speed. And extreme sports with ironclad chases always made people's adrenaline surge. But car number 99 always maintained the number 1 position throughout the race. When the car rushed across the finish line with lightning speed, the Carol flag was flying. The champion of the race appeared. The whole racetrack exploded with cheers from the audience. I looked at the official standing in the middle of the sea of fireworks. His confidence was overwhelming. His radiance was blinding. When he saw me, he smiled and walked towards me. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. The pounding sound was so loud it was deafening. Unable to hold back, I took a step forward. Officer. Just then, a girl's voice came from the speaker on stage. We both looked in that direction at the same time. A girl in a white dress stood on stage, smiling and waving to the judge. Even though we were quite far away, I could still recognize who she was. Kyo Lin, an art student at our school. She had previously performed a musical duet with the judge. Actually, Chung Guan didn't sign up to perform at first, so when the stage was lit up by a beam of light, seeing Chung Guan sitting quietly in the center playing the zither. Behind him was Chao Ling playing the piano. That scene caused everyone to gossip that there must be something between the two of them. But because of Chung Guan's indifferent attitude, doing whatever he wanted, the matter gradually faded away. Because the distance was quite far, I could only see Kyo Lin step down, walk in front of the judge and say something to him. I stood there silently, stepping back. Then I saw the judge wave his hand to signal a pause, say a few sentences, and then both of them looked at me at the same time. The next second, the officer ran towards me with a very familiar smile on his face. Want to try racing? Baby, I won. I don't care. This beautiful love makes me suffocate. The number 99 is proof for me and her. Our love must be 99. Looking at the officer's bright smile, I couldn't help but laugh along. Just as I was about to open my mouth to answer, Kyo Lin walked closer without me knowing. The other party smiled and said, "Then can I try it out?" After saying that, he turned to the officer. His tone was very friendly. I had never tried out a champion's racing car before. His voice rang out overhead and he agreed immediately. Okay. Kyo Lin glanced at me furtively. My heart felt like it had fallen to the bottom of the abyss, but the next string, a warm feeling hotly touching the tip of my finger, the official's finger secretly hooked my index finger. His heart's voice rang out again. This time it was cold and gloomy. Still not willing to give up today. I'll show you how much affection my baby and I show. It's tight. Even though I haven't been officially promoted, but as long as I work hard, the baby will become my baby. On the way back, the official tried every possible way, from letting me sit in the passenger seat like someone leaning in close to his eyes, reluctant to leave me, my head tilted back slightly. My breathing seemed to stop. Only after a while did he move his gaze away, reaching out to help me fasten my seatbelt. Why did I forget to fasten my seatbelt? It's so dangerous. Almost couldn't hold back and kissed her. Official, you're really good. If this doesn't make the baby fall in love with me, then that's it. Ha 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 ha. When I heard the official's heart, I could even imagine the scene of Mr. Chung lying on his back, face up to the sky, laughing wildly. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Kyo Lin's smile stiffen. Finally, He couldn't hold it in anymore. And spoke up just now. I remembered, Trin Quan is always attentive and attentive. Last time it was also thanks to you that my performance went smoothly. Hearing that, I turned to look at Trin Quan unexpectedly. Someone else was also secretly looking at me. The moment our eyes met, he coughed once and said no such thing. If Tranha hadn't broken his arm, then I wouldn't have had to come out for him. The speed of his speech was extremely fast. His voice was also unusually high. Kyo Lin was silent for a moment, then she changed the topic to me. Her tone was deep and unpredictable. You are a cold person. I don't usually hear anyone mention you. What kind of nonsense does this sister talk? I'm so angry I'm dying. Does she mean that my baby is not famous? That's right, that's why she normally avoids me. Trin Quan said sarcastic words when he finished speaking. The space suddenly fell silent. The corners of my lips lifted slightly. I couldn't help but laugh. My eyes met the other person's. Tell Trin Quan I won't hide anymore. That night when I returned to the dormitory, my roommate was surprised to see me. She asked, have you heard the news? Kyo Lin and Trin Quan are dating. After saying that, she also showed me a post on Kyo Lin's friend circle. A photo he posted captured Trin Quan's back sitting in the driver's seat with a forest cable. Get to ride in the champion's car. Below the comment section was a series of 99 comments. I wanted to laugh. She also knows how to choose an angle too well. Cut me out of the frame. My roommate hesitated and didn't want to say anything, but in the end still said something. It felt fake somehow. The male lead didn't even go on stage. The medal that Trin Quan gave me was carefully put away in the drawer. I said, there must be a misunderstanding. As soon as I finished speaking, my roommate looked skeptical. She continued, oh, why did he delete the post? It was obvious that she posted it for everyone to see. Now what does she mean by deleting it? A moment later, my friend burst out laughing and said, I knew it, ha 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 ha. Look at this. I went closer and saw that it was a screenshot of a post on Trin Quan's friend's circle. The content had only one word. She attached was a photo of my back. I don't know when it was taken. My roommate hung it. Okay, I said it was nothing, but now he's being called out by name. Now it's Trin Quan's turn to line up to get a number to pursue you. I was confused and picked up my phone. My hands were shaking when I opened it to see. Sure enough, I saw Trin Quan's post in the comment section. He left a sentence, this is only 99. I pursed my lips slightly. The corners of my mouth couldn't help but ache a little. Maybe it was because that post on Trin Quan's friend's circle, it had spread widely. So in the following days, all the eyes of the people around were on me. The matter reached its climax when he came to find me. It seemed like he didn't care at all, or to be more exact, he was openly expecting it. He smiled at me and said, don't you have anything to say? I tried not to say the words you wanted to hear the most. Birthday happy. Today is Chung Guan's birthday. Yesterday, he texted me to ask if I wanted to go see his friends together. The other person smiled a smile with hidden meaning. Sure, Ran, when will it be my turn to pursue you? But the baby has already wished me a happy birthday. That's better. Okay. I finally get to hear her say it this year. It's not in vain that I've waited all these years. Boo-hoo hoo-hoo. Who I love her so much. Hearing those words, I blinked looking at him and said, Chung Guan, it's always been you all along and I haven't mentioned it yet. I also want to meet his friends. That night Chung Guan took me to the private room. As soon as the door opened, paper floats shot out from inside. He immediately stood in front of me. Pieces of paper floats flew everywhere, falling all over him. The people in the room started to make a commotion when they saw me standing behind Chung Guan. Among them, Tranha's voice was the loudest. Yo-yo, who is that girl? Trin Quan smiled and said, I'll take it. Of course, she's my future wife. Trin Quan pointed to the cigarette box on the table. He lifted it and gave the order, throw this thing away. Then he reminded me, today's fun must be limited. Whoever is drunk and causing trouble, throw them out. Don't let the smoke make the baby uncomfortable. When I glanced around, the people in the room at the moment, what surprised me was that among them were people who used to be band members with Trin Quan since high school. Their reactions when they saw me were also the most enthusiastic. When I had just settled down, one of them warmly approached and started talking to me. Sister-in-law, sister-in-law. Don't be fooled by Trin Quan's calm appearance. Actually, he wants to set off fireworks to celebrate. Ha ha ha. Trin Quan pretended to wave his hand to hit him. The other person held his head and shouted, Trin Quan, I haven't even mentioned the story of a strong and broad-shouldered guy like you. But he secretly loved someone else's daughter all the way. Where are the years of high school? Want to learn how to secretly love someone but don't know? Just stand still and stare at sister-in-law. Do you know that back then after you left, brother Trin stood still in one place for 3 minutes to say goodbye with that look? At that moment I felt like my heart was shot by an arrow. If it wasn't because I recently heard that sister-in-law was confessed to by someone else, surely brother Trin would be so agitated that he couldn't sit still. I don't know how long he would be secretly sad. I couldn't help but laugh, turning to Trin Quan and asking, is it true? His movements paused. His eyes looked away, his wrists turned red. Forget it. If it's already happened, just leave it like that. Yes, what he said was all true. He mainly didn't dare to face me. As soon as the words ended, he raised his hand to relieve his boredom, like completely giving up. There was nothing left to lose. Unexpectedly, Brother Trin also had this day. Everyone around burst out laughing in the middle of a chaotic corner. I reached up to hold Trin Quan's hand. At the same time, I caught sight of his eyes sparkling. I don't know since when the others found out that Chungguan's group used to form a band, they insisted that they perform a song. Chungguan was helpless. He rubbed his hands and got bored. If you don't sing, I'll play the bass. The others weren't convinced. Sister-in-law, she told him to sing a song. His voice is really good. Honestly, I've never heard Chungguan sing before. Every time he performs, he only plays an instrument. My eyes were filled with anticipation. I looked at him and said, I really want to hear you sing. He finally stood up. Before leaving, he leaned over slightly. He whispered to me in a low voice, he'll sing, but you have to give me a title afterwards. Everyone around started to tease him. Who will pay? I didn't expect that Chungguan still didn't have a title until now. He pointed at them and said, look. I looked up. The corner of his lips was slightly curved. The beat of the news was pounding, blending with the bustling atmosphere around him. He turned his head. You guys got a bargain singing for my baby. Chungguan took the guitar he had just borrowed. He lazily sat down on the chair. His soft back bowed his head and sang under the dim light. He curled his lips and his eyes looked down, filled with affection. You are me girl, girlfriend. How much I love you so much, baby. When I see you sad, my heart aches so much. I'm sorry, you're my sweetheart. When he sang this part, he raised his head and looked up. Our eyes met. I heard his heart. My girlfriend. Finally, after singing, Chungguan held my hand tightly. He placed it on the table, our 10 fingers intertwined openly without any concealment. Everyone urged him to make a birthday wish. He raised the hand that was holding mine. He quietly said, I've never made a birthday wish before. People around started to shout in protest. I tried to pull my hand back, but the person next to me held it even tighter. A teasing voice rang in my ear. Girlfriend, what are you doing? Make a wish. Chungguan was slightly nervous 1 hour, but still obediently closed his eyes. His heart's voice rang out, gentle and sincere. Unable to be hidden, I was willing to use all my wishes from before as an exchange, hoping that the girl I love could spread her wings. Freedom. Essay. At that moment, something seemed to be in my head collapsed. My nose was stinging, my eye sockets suddenly heated up. Trin Quan was such a young man. Quach put on an indifferent appearance, even cold and distant, but deep inside was a heart. He could see my wounds, my inferiority complex, my sensitivity. After everyone had left the door, everyone went home. Trin Quan slightly bowed, calling me girlfriend. I stopped, looked up at him and asked, what's wrong? He didn't reply, just smiled. I couldn't help but smile along as my whole body danced with joy. I smiled and held his hand. His hand tightly held mine. Just as I was about to open my mouth to speak neem, my body suddenly stiffened. The blood in my body seemed to freeze, turning my eyes to look in the direction of the voice. Under the soft moonlight, a familiar face appeared, a person I hadn't seen for a long time. My mother. Her eyebrows crossed. What are you doing? The only sound left on my hand. My mind was momentarily blank. A sudden feeling of nausea rose in my throat. I watched her slowly approach. I was about to look displeased. Neem, why didn't you listen to me? It seemed like my hand was having auditory hallucinations. Why didn't you in first place? Why couldn't you understand me? Why the last sentence I heard was neem. You disappoint me so much. I pulled my hand out of the judge's hand with a hoarse voice. I asked Mother, why did Mom come here? The deepest memory of my childhood, actually. It wasn't about being forced by Mom to do what she wanted, but it was in elementary school when Mom and Dad had a huge fight. The broken glass cut a line across my face. At first, I didn't feel any pain, just stood there dumbfounded in a corner, separated from their world. In my heart, panicked and helpless, my mom screamed, smashing things around to vent her anger, and that man just stood next to her though, watching Mom go crazy until her voice was hoarse, her eyes swollen. My grandma just gave a command. Divorce. Like an invisible verdict was announced that day. I stayed by Mom's side for a long time, watching her wipe away the tears on her face. Her eyes looked at me resolutely, saying, Neem, from now on you will follow Mom, okay? I stopped shaking my head. When leaving, Mom wore a formal outfit, stopped holding my head high, holding my hand step by step, leading me out the door. Later I found out, from the beginning she also wanted to take custody of me, but my mother didn't want anything, she only needed me. So I really don't understand why a woman who was once steadfast and determined chose me, but later little by little pushed me away. The one who gave me a name that carried so much hope at the same time was also the one who restrained my development. She always told me this shouldn't be That shouldn't be. You have to do well. You are nothing, just like a delicately manipulated doll. My teeth were full of strings until the university entrance exam. She still wanted me to walk on the path she arranged. Leaving this place, I have long since become someone who always thinks of herself as inferior, always sensitive and self-conscious. And that was the first time in my life I firmly said no to my mother. I don't know why a person who has been in a foreign land for so long like her now return. In my heart I still carry a complicated feeling about her. Mother went to let you see, Chang Quan said. You go right away. Chang Quan was stunned, but still tried to say, Auntie, I didn't. You hear? He looked at me. I moved my lips to signal you go back first. He looked at me for a long time. Auntie, sorry for bothering. After Chang Quan left, suddenly my mother's voice softened. Neem. Mother knew all this time. In my heart I have always resented Mother. This time Mother returned to the country to make up for all the previous mistakes. Stay by your side. Listen to Mother. Let's break up. Her words sounded like sincere advice, but to me, it was no different. A very absurd saying, too unreasonable, so realistic that it seemed like just an empty dream. I lost all feeling. Opened my mouth to ask her reason. Her tone was extremely sincere, as if that was an obvious thing. There was no reason at all. Mother did this just for the best for you. Why don't you understand? Mother just doesn't want you to be deceived by others. Mother once told you absolutely don't believe anyone's words. Why don't you listen? You won't be able to stand it. Just obediently do as I say. Mom, I looked up at her. My throat hurt. Voice lost in shyness. Mom came back here just to tell me these words. Didn't she ask me if I had ever suffered? Didn't she ask if I missed her? Didn't she ask if I was happy? The first thing she said, you have to listen to your mother. In the end, mother and son, we parted ways in a heavy atmosphere, not very happy. Just as I reached the door, I received a call from the judge. His voice was hoarse. I didn't answer. The other person switched to texting. Looking to the left, I absent-mindedly looked in that direction, seeing him standing in the dark right near the gate. The phone in his hand emitted a faint light, making his sharp face seem to light up. The judge pursed his lips. His face was solemn. He stepped towards me. My shoulders were held tightly by his hand. Seeing my eyes turning red, his voice softened. What's wrong? What happened? Before my eyes was Chang Guan's worried eyes, but I didn't wait for him to realize. Since I met my mother again, I could no longer hear his heart's voice. The familiar sound I used to hear just like that disappeared. Instead, only my mother's voice remained. The golden chaos echoed in my mind. I was like a lost soul. I stopped and looked up at the person in front of me, asking, Chang Guan, will I lose you? Suddenly my whole body was tightly held in his arms. His voice moved from the top of my head to sure Ran. That would never happen. It seemed like my mother had made up her mind. She moved closer to my school, saying she wanted to be closer to me. Ran. Why don't you listen to me? Have I ever hurt you? She said in a serious voice, so tired, like being surrounded by shackles. A shackle given a beautiful name. Love, the fertile land that nurtured me. It was also the swamp that sank me into the deep mud. I couldn't refute because Mother's love was really heavy. It was just that she didn't know how to express it properly. This was unintentional. Don't make my personality flawed become the person I am today. Maybe because she saw me not saying anything. Mom raised her voice. Thoi Neem, you're still the same as before. Mom is talking to you. Can't you open your mouth to answer? Those words were like a knife cutting into my heart. My eyes were red. My throat was bitter. Tears just kept spreading down my face. I choked up and asked her, Mom, do I have to live under your control for the rest of my life? When I was young, you told me to follow you when I went to middle school. I had to take the competitions. You said when I went to high school, I had to transfer schools according to your wishes. When I went to college, you wanted me to go abroad, study. Every important milestone in your life is decided by your mother. But from the moment you followed me, the first thing my mother did was cut off all your relationships. My mother didn't know how much you hated competitions, competing with others. When you transferred to another school, you became so withdrawn, but through your mother's words, you became when the child was obedient and obedient when it was time to go to college. When I was brave enough to speak my mind, my mother said, why am I no longer the same as when I was little? In front of me, there was only a faint image of her now. My mother said I was no different from before. Am I good or bad? Is it only my mother who has the right to judge? What about me? I couldn't finish my sentence. Without observing my mother's expression at that time, I couldn't continue to restrain myself. I rushed out the door. The phone in my hand kept ringing. I resolutely switched to silent mode. I sat down, happily touching my knees. Hey, girlfriend, why are you so sad? A familiar voice rang out, accompanied by a ragged breath as if it had just run here. When I looked up, I saw the judge was slightly bent over, 2 hands on his knees, breathing heavily. His hair disheveled, smiling at me. The corners of my eyes were hot. He sat down next to me, pulling away the arm I was hugging tightly, tilting his head slightly, his eyes looking at me sharply. I sadly said, I don't want to go home. Yeah. No want to do things I don't like. Yeah. Don't want to break up. Yeah. He repeated, don't break up. After a moment of silence, suddenly he stood up and said, come with me. I'll take you somewhere. I looked at the tattoo shop in front of me. My fingertips gently poked the officer's strong arm. Asked, this is where you want to take me? I looked at him. Tattooing my hand was completely in his big hand. He breathed and smiled meaningfully. Asked, want to get a tattoo of the hips? I hadn't had time to say anything when the officer interrupted. She didn't have a tattoo. Gently poked. I asked, what do you mean? He leaned on the sofa to choose a model. Hearing me say that, he chuckled conveniently through a few models on the table and asked, do you have paper and pen? After receiving the paper and pen, he gave it to me again. Said, draw a picture of your choice. I'll tattoo that picture, then you'll draw a pig, then I'll tattoo it too. His eyes looked at me, sparkling with laughter. Suddenly my nose felt a little sore. I don't need a boyfriend with a pig tattoo. Luckily, I studied before drawing. I gently stroked the paper. I thought for a while, then put down the pen to draw. Under my pen strokes, a sunflower with pockmarks appeared, pointing through the musical notes to create a scene and strangeness, meaning silent love. When the tattooed man saw the drawing, he blurted out compliments. This girl has a talent for drawing beautiful drawings. I meticulously edited each stroke, turned to ask the judge, where do you plan to tattoo? On your arm. He grabbed my hand and pressed it against his left chest where the heartbeat was pounding under his palm. Answer. Here. Then asked, how about it? Do you want to try touching my abs? My face suddenly became hot. I swung my arm and hit him. The judge looked in pain. Lying motionless on the table, I panicked. Hurriedly moved closer to him to take a look, but as soon as he got close, he suddenly sat up, grabbing my wrist. The distance between us was so close that I could see the officer's Adam's apple moving up and down. His eyes were like mango juice. When I closed my eyes, his hoarse voice wafted by my ears. The road faded in the dark. His little sunflower scent. I don't know since when the officer contacted my mother. Even recently, she took the initiative to mention the matter of inviting the officer to our house for dinner after the unpleasant argument before. This was the first time she took the initiative to give in. Mom said, that boy once talked to me privately today. You invite him to come to our house. Let's sit down and talk. I don't know what the two of them talked about, but it seemed like after just one night my mother's attitude was a bit softer, more yielding today. When she told the officer, he didn't seem surprised at all. I squinted at him, asking, did you secretly go see my mother? No. He just smiled. I didn't notice until standing in front of Trin Kwan's house holding my hand tightly. I could feel his palm hot and full of sweat. I could even hear his deep breathing. I shook my hand but looked over and asked, are you nervous? The other party sighed and replied, Thoinim, don't tease me anymore. I know. Before he finished speaking, the door opened. Trin Kwan took a second to regain his seriousness. He finally met the person deeply and said, hello, uncle. His sudden action startled my mother. She was even more confused than him. Come in. Trin Kwan still stood still. Dear uncle, first let me apologize to you for what I said earlier. That day my attitude really shouldn't have been like that. He really did secretly meet my mother. After entering the house, he stood shyly in a corner. I couldn't stand this scene anymore. I reached out and pulled him closer. Why would a normal person like Trin Kwan, who was not afraid of playing or being afraid of the ground, show such a tense expression at this moment? While my mother was busy in the kitchen, I pulled Trin Kwan into my bedroom. After moving, my mother brought all my old belongings. Among them were also items from high school. Trin Kwan stood in front of the desk, reached out and took out a certificate of merit. I was pressed down in a book a long time ago. It was the first prize certificate in chemistry that I won in high school. He smiled. A smile that contained a meaning that cannot be expressed in words. I remember this at that time. The photo of you receiving the award was posted on the honor roll for a long time. Oh, I don't remember very clearly that time. You wore a white dress. Really, you rarely wear dresses. Maybe that day was an exception. You also wore a headband. Then he added, very cute. My face blushed. Ask him, why do you remember so well the person whose name is on the honor roll? Why doesn't anyone remember? The judge meticulously smoothed out the creases on the certificate. His eyes turned towards me. Don't you know you're very loved? After the judge left, I went back to the bedroom. I don't know since when there was a piece of heart-shaped paper pressed down on the desk. Thinking back, maybe just now when I left the room, he secretly put it on the desk. I pursed my lips, smiled slightly. Trin Kwan, I didn't expect you to play this naive elementary school student's game. But when I opened it, my nose was stinging. My heart tightened as if someone was squeezing it. It was written on it, my baby doesn't need to feel small and insecure. Loneliness surrounds you. Others consider you an eccentric and unapproachable person. But in my heart, you are a Beethoven symphony. You are the person that all my melodies and lyrics want to direct towards. You are not only the girl sitting in the audience watching me, but also the girl who always wins first place in chemistry exams. She has a talent for painting. Her literature achievements always hold the top spot. There are many people secretly keeping an eye on you. So you are my love. Do you know? In a hidden corner where you can't see, I've always been watching you, silently pursuing you. You are my eternal source of motivation. Reading to the last line, all the grievances and sorrows that have been hidden in my heart for so long, things that have always been on my mind. Suddenly I was told by a sentence that was extremely gentle, but I firmly affirmed this. Melt away, my hands were shaking. I pressed the call button for Chungguan the first second. He picked up the phone. He said, "Come downstairs. I'm waiting for you." My heart was pounding as if it was about to jump out of my chest. After I went downstairs, I saw Chungguan standing under the street lamp. The blue earring on his right hand was sparkling under the shimmering light. His casual smile was as bright as the light, just like the first time I met him, but this time I was no longer the one standing in the audience. The person standing on the stage opened his arms towards me. He said, "Girlfriend, do you want a hug?" Anecdotal story. Chungguan's perspective. The first time I met Thoinim, it wasn't on the honor roll, but it was at the school gate that day. While I was standing in front of the gate waiting for someone, by chance I saw Thoinim's mother bringing her. I accidentally heard her mother say, "Must be in first place." At that moment I almost burst out laughing. What parent would speak to their child like that? Thoinim bowed her head. She seriously agreed, but I saw her small hand hold in G tightly onto the hem of her skirt. After mother of the infected period left, I saw her quietly dragging the suitcase alone to the registration location. In my heart, I silently blamed what kind of parent is so heartless, but when I thought about it again, it had nothing to do with me. When I was about to look away, the moment my eyes glanced over, I suddenly discovered that one side of the suitcase's will had disappeared at some point, but she didn't show any expression because I couldn't hold it in. I mumbled a few words after standing there looking for a while. I really couldn't hold it in anymore. I stood up preparing to walk, but after only a few steps, "Mr. Trin, let's go." They stood calling me from afar, looking in the direction of the infected period. Once more I shouted to answer them, "You guys go ahead," and continue running towards her. It was just that when I was a few steps away, suddenly a girl unexpectedly appeared at the intersection, offering to help the infected period out. Am I doing? I just gave up and left it. Later on, I often vaguely paid attention to Thoinim. It seemed like she was always alone. She didn't care about what was going on around her. One time while I was playing basketball, it seemed like for a moment I saw that girl standing outside the court. At that moment my movements also stopped for a second. I was blocked by my opponent. It was really annoying, but my first reflex was to look in her direction. As a result, I looked at the wrong person. That's right. Thinking back, Thoinim wasn't the type of person who liked to go watch basketball games. I felt even more upset. Thoinim's name was on the list of excellent students who won first place in the chemistry competition. Suddenly, I remembered the appearance of the little girl bowing her head, seriously promising to win first place. It seemed that this girl was really confident in her own abilities. I even specially came to see the list of honors for excellent students. She looks pretty, right? There must be quite a few people who like her. They also want bones. Originally I had no intention of participating in the school-organized performance. It was simply a personal preference. I didn't want to participate in such occasions, too noisy, too school, until I had a dream. It changed my mind. In the dream I cried and begged Thoinim to like me. I also asked her what type of person she liked while playing the guitar and crying like a crazy person. To be honest, I woke up with a start from that dream. I only remember in the dream she said one sentence, "You go on stage and play the bass well." Then I signed up to participate in the performance. As a result, when I was on stage I thought about that dream again. I even had a little anticipation when playing this damn bass. At that time Thoinim was sitting below focusing on studying English vocabulary. I was speechless, so angry I wanted to laugh. Okay, I also study English vocabulary. Everyone around me asks, why have I been studying so hard lately? Anyway, I don't want one day I'll play the guitar and cry like that dream. Then I passed the entrance exam to the same university with Thoinim as I wished. Mother, I didn't have the courage to confess. Just seeing her made me unable to say a word. I didn't expect to hear that she was confessed to by someone else. Because of my frustration I went boxing. I used a punching bag as a scapegoat for that guy. I kept punching like that for a long time. Suddenly I gradually regained consciousness. I accidentally saw Thoinim being confessed to by someone else. Maybe she didn't know. At that time my hands were shaking. In my heart, I was screaming silently as if thousands and thousands of lines of words were passing by. If she knew, my image would definitely collapse. But in the end, the 108 moves to pursue a beloved wife that I've spent so much time learning have come to be useful. Ha ha ha. I won't let myself cry while playing the guitar. Where else? Then I timidly looked up at Thoinim. I couldn't see her but wanted to shout out publicly. I declared that she was mine. Thoinim was like a treasure that I was lucky enough to find. It was just that my treasure covered itself with dust, letting sadness and tears cover up its inherent light. Thoinim's evasive eyes. Her footsteps kept retreating behind her, and her face turned pale in an instant. Made my heart tremble as well. Thoinim didn't know. When she said she didn't want to break up, my hands were shaking with emotion. There were some were so touched that they wanted to cry. So I went to see her mother. I want to say that my grandmother deserves to be loved. Thank you everyone for listening to the story at Jong Tuesday Man Audio Healing Channel. If you find it interesting, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to receive the earliest notifications.